California Congressman Ed Royce chairs the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he joins us now. Good to have you with us this morning, Congressman. Welcome.
Thank you, Martha.
Is it an exercise in futility?
Well, we don't know yet, but the one thing we know for sure is that Ahmad al-Mohammed, who is the terrorist who blew himself up outside of that stadium, remember, he was trying to get inside to kill the president of France. He was a Syrian refugee who came in to Europe on a Syrian passport, and that demonstrates why both Europe and the United States should be tightening our rules in terms of those refugees who are coming in.
Yeah, what we're hearing from the administration is that it is already a very long process, that it takes 12 to 24 months to go through the forms, to go through the interview, and that they are vetted at several different stages along the way. Here's Jay Johnson, the head of the Homeland Security Department, talking about why he thinks that more extensive measures are just not feasible. Here he is.
That is an extremely cumbersome idea, because you're talking in the neighborhood of 10,000 people in one calendar year. I have lots of other things on my plate.
He's too busy for that, sir.
Well, here's the point. You know, we already know that law enforcement is overwhelmed in Europe with respect to handling this situation. Let's look at what happened with the refugees coming in from Iraq. Despite all of the information we had at our disposal at that time, and we actually had records we could get from Baghdad. We can't do that from Damascus, right? And yet still you had 4 Iraqi refugee terrorists get into the United States at that time. Coming on the heels of what we've just seen in Paris and around the world, with 900 casualties as a result of these terrorist attacks, the Speaker of the House is right. Our first priority has to be protecting the American people. And they've just put out the messaging that they intend to come here to the United States and attack in New York. That video you can download right now. So in that circumstance, it is the responsibility of Congress and, frankly, the President to make the first priority not only protecting the American people, but frankly, this containment strategy. The President has never shown he really understands the danger of ISIS. We have to actually, with a safe zone, help the Christians, the Kurds, the Yazidis, the others who are being attacked, and set up a system so that they can fight back with the United States, like we saw from France hitting those targets the other day. That's what we need to see.
As we know, compassion can take many forms, and these people have been asking for us to help them, to defend them in their home country, where they wanted to stay in the villages that their families have lived in for many, many, many years. But, you know, that didn't work out so well. So now we have to deal with them on our borders, correct?
But the reason it didn't work out, by the way, is because the President refuses to directly arm those Kurdish and Yazidi forces. Those men and women need armaments to defend themselves, and frankly, we need rules of engagement to allow our pilots to actually attack those ISIS targets. And this is our great frustration with the President right now.
I remember John McCain talking about the fact that they were sent meals ready to eat, and saying that that probably wasn't going to help to eradicate the situation. But what about the charge that you all are being not compassionate, that this is the American way, that there are innocent people clearly among these groups? Do we need to help them?
Well, yes, but the best way to help them, again, is not to sign off on the President's strategy that we're going to contain an Islamic State and allow it to exist, and that we're not going to arm the Christians, the Kurds, the Yazidis, the others in the area that are fighting. No. The answer, obviously, the obvious answer is to defeat ISIS. Now, that would be a complete reversal of his strategy. ISIS is not the JV team, clearly. He's wrong about that. ISIS is a threat to us. Our first priority is the security of the United States, and our second priority should be assisting those people, but it should be by defeating ISIS where they are carrying out these attacks, and by arming these troops and giving the air support, and that's not what we're seeing from the administration.
No. Compassion can take many forms. That is clear, as we've seen in the history of this story. Thank you very much, Congressman Royce. Good to see you this morning.
Thank you.